Older couples that decided to not have children, how do you feel about your decision now that years have passed? I have a professor at my university who has been married to his wife for 50 years, and they have no children. He calls us his children and always talks about how he and his wife are inseparable. He's a really eccentric and energetic guy, even in his 70s. He gives out candy to the entire class before every lecture he gives. He seems like he truly loves life and has no regrets about not having any children. My husband and I are 48. Not having kids is a huge relief, still. We get to travel, have a nice house, walk around naked if we want, and I have disposable income to support causes that are important. My life is fulfilling and happy. A few of my friends with kids will remark that my husband and I are so lucky because we travel a lot. We chose not to have kids, and they chose to have kids. No luck, we just have extra cash we don't spend on a kid, so we spend it on ourselves. No regrets. Been married for 21 years and initially we tried to have kids but found out that it was going to be hard to do. Wife was heartbroken at first, but I was somewhat relieved. It's a lot of responsibility and your life changes to accommodate a child. Over the years, wife has actually said a few times that she was glad we didn't have kids because we couldn't have had the adventures we did. I feel like it was the right choice and we're better off due to not having kids. We love our life and are continuing our adventures now in our 50s, and we're starting to make plans for retirement. I'm old enough I have 100% accepted that I won't have kids, plus my so and I don't really want them. My whole life I wanted a big family because I had lots of siblings and we had a cozy happy childhood, so accepting that it wasn't the path my life was going down honestly wasn't easy. My turning point came when I realized that I was judging my success as a woman on whether or not I had kids. Society says oh have kids, and everyone expects you to, and everyone you know has kids and they seem happy and content, and probably are. So for me it was what's so wrong with me that I can't have what I want and why does everyone else get to have it, even people who don't want kids? It seemed unfair and I was angry about it, and I've done a lot of crying and soul searching over the years. But eventually I grasped that just because my life was going to be different than I expected didn't mean that it wouldn't be as happy if not happier than if I'd had kids. And I'm very big on acceptance overall. The concept that just because one path is blocked for you doesn't mean that's a bad thing. Even small paths like making a traffic light before it turns red. Maybe I would be in an accident if I had made that light, and a 2-minute delay kept me out of the way of a bad driver. Maybe I wouldn't have been happy having kids. I always assumed I'd be happy, but who really knows where life will go? Maybe I would have had a medical issue that would have been life-threatening or life-altering. Maybe I would have died giving birth. Plus, I wouldn't have met my current so if I'd had kids, and I'm so blissfully happy with him that I wouldn't trade life with him for anything in the world. I look back on all of the things that I so badly wanted in my past, and a good chunk of those things I'm so glad I didn't get because it would have drastically changed my life and I wouldn't be where I am today. So I view such roadblocks simply as barriers meant to keep me off the wrong paths and on the right one. Some people scoff at such viewpoints and make fun of me and call me naive, but really in the end what can we do to change certain things? I can't go back in time and have kids. I can't redo my past at all. I much prefer to make peace with it and keep looking forward so that it doesn't negatively affect my present and future happiness by swallowing me whole. The alternative is to live in a constant state of grief and regret and sadness and helplessness, so I don't care if people think my viewpoints are stupid. They have brought me a peace and comfort that I was missing for years and years. That being said, mourning the loss of what you wanted out of life is perfectly fine and therapeutic and necessary. Don't shortchange yourself there. Hell, I mourn it still sometimes when my siblings announce their new pregnancies or send pics of their new babies, because it still stings sometimes even though I'm happy for them. Please understand that your self-worth and self-identity isn't dependent on something like having kids. There is much more to you than that. Time helps as well. It doesn't take it all away, but it helps. Also, I volunteer as an advocate for abused and neglected kids, and I know I couldn't spend the time doing that if I had kids of my own. So I'm content knowing that perhaps my purpose in life was just different than having my own kids. Hope any of that helped. Internet hugs to you. I'm going to give you the different answer. I met my guy at 26. I was ready for kids at 32. He started stalling, hoping to run my clock out. I thought I was too old to find someone new in time to have kids. I tried to accept it. To find something else to give my life purpose. I have a fulfilling professional career. I donate. I volunteer. I care for my older family members. I have friends. But, you know what? I never got over my anger and resentment of being denied children. Last year, after 20 years together, I ended things. Now I'm back to looking at ways to become a mom, however that happens. I have my own frozen eggs. I'm open to fostering or adopting. And I don't regret leaving my ex, not even a little. I feel resentment, and cheated. For what it's worth, embryo adoption is also a thing. It's far more cost effective than domestic infant adoption, and you can generally do it until age 55, after that on a case-by-case basis. Some people can move past it, others can't until they have exhausted every possible outlet. I'm in the latter category. I wish you peace, with whatever you decide. Mid-40s couple. We feel regrets, lots of regrets. However, we are a somewhat special case, and might still have a shot. We are past the normal age of having a child, but we froze our gametes ages ago, just in case we changed our mind about not having children. For us, the decision not to have kids was more practical than ideological. At the time, we both had chronically ill family members that required a lot of our time and, more importantly, mental energy. The idea of throwing a kid in the mix seemed unpleasant and unfair all around. Also, neither of us had much desire to have kids, we just enjoyed each other's company and that was more than enough back then. Having kids seemed like a hugely stressful experience even in the best of circumstances and we could easily sidestep it, so why not? I was the type of person who loved kids. I adore all my nephews, as long as I could give them back to their parents after some time. I am a geneticist, and the full reason I thought we should freeze our gametes was that I thought, if we did ever decide to have kids even while we can still do it naturally but we are older, I wanted us to have younger gametes and to have the embryos screened. I know this seems unromantic, but see our practical attitudes towards life, above. Things are really different now since we made that decision not to have kids all those years ago. We have fewer responsibilities and our financial situation is great. We've had the chance to live and travel all over the world, live for our careers, and spend years and years in just the company of each other. I feel like we got all we can out of being child-free, and we feel a longing to have a family of our own, meaning a family of more than just us two. So, now we feel a lot of regrets. Regrets about not having a kid at all and not doing it when we were younger. Old as we are, we will likely now go back to our egg and sperm cycles and give it a go if our doctor says it's okay. The funny thing is, I think my answer might be completely different if we were in the same situation now but didn't have the gametes available. I think we might not allow ourselves the luxury of regrets. When what's done is done and can't be reversed, I think it's natural to just want to look at the brighter side of things, particularly when it's a mistake you can't learn much from. Sometimes it's not a decision. My wife and I went through several rounds of increasingly serious in vitro fertilization and ICSI procedures before the doctors told us they just couldn't help us. Well, she went through the procedures. I just jerked it into a vial. Mother Nature is sexist AF. If there was a choice, it was that we chose not to adopt after all that. I think we needed time to deal with the emotional strain, or just didn't want to think about kids for a while, I dunno. But the years have rolled by and we've gotten older. I'm more and more convinced I wouldn't have the energy to be good parents even if we'd started on schedule. I get a little sad when I see cute little kids and their families out in the world, but for the most part it doesn't bother me much, and on good days I think it's probably for the best, both for my wife and I and for the world. Mostly anyway. I go back and forth. My so has some significant mental health issues and I know that I would be alone doing much of the emotional labor of raising a child, and I know I'm not really capable of doing it alone. Sometimes I worry very much about what I will do when I am old. I'm an introvert and don't have many friends and am not overly likable, so I assume I will be alone. I just hope that there are some kind robots to take care of me, and that I'll die before the robots turn on us. This point is often made, but bears repeating. Having kids is not insurance against dying alone. I'm going to sound awful, but I hope my mom has that fear. She had 5 children and treated us all like shit. Telling me she wished I had never been born this past Christmas has officially made me cut off all contact. Her treatment of me has made me hesitant to have children myself. I worry I don't know how to love or be a better parent.